The next one, we plug in an intrinsic moral screen. This means that by introducing these innovations into the finance sector, we are making, or we are creating, an internal, integrate moral screen in financing that is otherwise requires an additional decision, requires a position by the management, like we see it in what is called today the ethical finance or ethical investment. In these, there is a decision added to the finance as if it is alien to it. In the Islamic finance, that decision becomes integral part. In other words, Islamic finance, or finance according to the innovations brought in by the Islamic finance ideas, cannot be done at all without the moral screening. Because the moment you own a thing that is not morally acceptable, that thing should be thrown away, should be destroyed, not really owned, because that does not make a property to begin with. That is not an asset to begin with, and obviously you cannot earn through it. So by that we are making the decision, the moral decision, an internal one, not an external added one, and we are solving, as a matter of fact, by the other point, that the standard of what is moral and what is not moral. Moral or not moral is a scientific issue that is determined by weighing the harm and benefit of a thing, or of even a transaction or a behavior, a utility. The next point is we stick always to real economy. In other words, finance can only be for real production or exchange of goods and services. It cannot be for any other transaction outside the real economy. And that sticking to the real economy has definitely several implications. The least of it is that finance cannot exceed the size of the real economy. The real economic transactions may be financed, and usually they are not financed 100%. They are financed less than that because of the issue of security and whatnot. So the finance sector cannot expand and cannot build an upside-down pyramid. The next point is we eliminate all non-productive activities. Non-productive, simple example of it is gambling, because it has, it only transfers wealth without increasing it, without creating an added value. And in fact, any transaction that does not add added value is excluded from the market if we adopt these innovations that are brought in by the Islamic ideas of finance. The next one, again, we establish fairness, a principle of fairness on the moral and theoretical level. That is it not fair that you earn by own? How would you justify? We are talking about finance, of course, because you can earn by selling your man hours, by selling labor. That's a different issue. That's not finance. But in finance, we are establishing a basis, moral and theoretical basis for fairness. That is, you can earn only if you own. And if you don't own, of course, you don't earn. Also, next one, that you can lean on partners, a financial institution within the context of the innovations brought in by Islamic finance. A financial institution of this kind can always lean on partners because its depositors mainly cannot be lenders, can only basically be partners, of course, if they want to earn. If they don't want to earn, we are talking about transfer of wealth only without creating wealth, so that's a different issue. And you lean on partners in a sense that if there were any market adversary situations, well, you distribute less profit. You are not committed to a given amount of return on your deposit. So you can depend on this element of you can distribute to them less profit, or even they bear even losses with you. The next point is we integrate market discipline in the economy. Market discipline in the economy means that more performance, you get more depositors. The bank or the financial institution that has better performance definitely deserves to attract more deposits, and that is market discipline. Why? Those who do not perform well, people will withdraw their deposits from them, and that is fine. That is really incorporating an internal market discipline in the system. For these factors, I do not favor, and I do not stand really in much of support of the ideas that are prevailing among the writers who like to be very close to the conventional way of attracting deposits through the what is known the PER and the IRR, the profit equalization reserve, and the investment risk reserve. I don't feel that these are good ideas because they really distract the market discipline from the system. We need the market discipline, we need the depositors, the market itself, to determine that those units that are failing, let them fail. And those units that succeed, that do well, let them prosper and let them grow bigger. So market discipline, I think, is very important in this regard. The next point is we do not pull resources from the real market. Rather, we send them back to the real market. That is, if we imagine a finance system that works from the beginning according to the to these principles that are installed by the Islamic finance ideas. If we imagine a finance system working on them, definitely there would be no whatever several trillions or several hundred trillions of wealth used in options, because there will be no options. And the funds that are available will find only one channel of finance, which is supporting the real economy in the market, supporting goods and services in exchange or in production. They will find no other way of earning, of investing, because these assets do not exist. And now even, and that was expressed clearly by the behavior of Islamic banks before and after. Yes.
France is disconnected again.
What?
Sorbonne is disconnected.
Well, I don't know what to do. Let me see this, because my colleague, they left here and say, let's say accept. Okay. Are they now connected?
Yes, but we
Okay.
still can't see you. Sorry.
Oh,
Oh, we see you now.
It does well.
We can see you.
Good people. Yeah.
We'll send
Okay.
the photo.
Well, I hope you were following me. We are looking at this stage at the implications of the innovation that is introduced in finance by the Islamic finance ideas as they are developed over the last 4 decades. So the next point we are, or the point presently we are talking about is point number 13, that in the present market, before the crisis of 2008 and after it, the Islamic finance institutions were not indulged at all in investing or in supporting investment in the virtual assets, meaning that all financing they provide goes to the real market, financing of exchange of goods and services, and financing of the production through sharing contracts of goods and services. There is not a single penny and a single man hour in the human resources that goes for research about options and about other derivatives, other virtual assets. The huge amount of funding and the huge amount of human resources that are used in virtual assets should go back all to the real market. And if we imagine what would that affect in the real market, sometimes I recall what is called the Cultural Revolution of Mao Zedong in China, where he took many of these white-colored people and told them, go and work in the farms and go and produce wheat and barley for us. It's a similar thing, in fact, if we adopt the principles that are brought in by Islamic finance in the finance sector. We would be telling all these funding or financial and human resources that are used in virtual assets, go and invest in the real economy, go and finance the real economy. Then we have different vision probably about the poverty in the world and about how production should be done in the world, different than what we have today, because a large chunk, whatever the estimation of these amounts, you all know that the high estimation or the high amounts that are estimated as being used in the virtual assets and virtual trades and investment and all that. All these will go back, along with the human resources also that are invested in them. The next one will be we implant a standard of hard earning in finance. That is no easy buck. You don't get an easy dollar by simply clicking on a computer. I mean, if we imagine that clicking on computers is really a source of return and a source of profit, and usually a source of high return also through options and whatnot, including the high risk, of course. But imagine that instead of having farmers farming the land and producing wheat for us, supplying them with computers, each one of them, and sit overnight clicking on the keys of your computer, trading options and trading futures in the commodity market, and trading, of course, currencies also on the internet platforms. What will be the result of the world if all farmers decide to earn their income, their profit through clicking on their computers in this kind? I mean, let's take it as an example. It is always said in the economic studies about corruption that the worst thing corruption does in the economy is by convincing everybody that you don't need really to go through hard work and hard production and exchange. Just give a bribe to a minister or give a bribe to a person in position and you become rich. You don't need more than that. So corruption kills the incentive to produce. Similarly, virtual assets also kill the incentive to produce. And Islamic finance innovations turn these resources, financial and human, all turn them back to produce in the real market. There is no way you can earn by this production. So we create an incentive to earn the way it should be, not the way it may not be, because in the final analysis, we do not create better economy and better life by the virtual assets. The next point, it is necessarily developmental. When we apply these innovations of Islamic finance in the whole finance sector, we will notice definitely that each financial transaction supports either an exchange or an exercise of production, because finance can go only through sale, lease, or sharing. So it is always then productive. It always gives the market signal to producers to produce more than the goods and services that are being utilized, that are being sold, financed this way. So finance can always then, whichever channel it takes, lease or sale or sharing, can only be developmental and cannot be only simply in vain by any means. And with a strong connection, in fact, to development, there is an ownership risk to be borne by the finance provider. If you earn, you've got to own. And of course, if you own, you bear the risk of the property that you own. This kind of risk, I call it ownership risk. Ownership risk is an integral part of ownership. In fact, it's the other facet of earning, because if you own, you are exposed to the ownership risk, and of course you are entitled to the earning. So it is exactly the two sides of ownership. One side, the entitlement right, and the other side is the exposure to ownership risk. Ownership risk does not need to include price risk or liquidity risk. You can, in fact, avoid price risk and liquidity risk and still be exposed to ownership risk, and that is sufficient for earning in finance. You don't need the other exposure. Rather, you may always attempt to reduce exposures to other risks as long as you are willing or in a position to bear the property risk, the ownership risk, and that justifies your earning, because that means that you own that asset in full sense of ownership. The next point, it is definitely environmental and society friendly. When we make finance in accordance with these innovations that are brought in by Islamic finance, finance will be environmental friendly and social friendly both ways, simply because we avoid anything that is harmful to the environment, to the society, to any human being, and of course that is obvious by avoiding the activities that are harmful, like porno, for instance, and the assets or goods or things rather that are also harmful, like tobacco or liquor. The last point that I want to mention here is that we bring finance sector to really play its basic role. Here I like to mention a little bit about the financialization of the economy. The finance sector remained for long period financing real sale, real leasing, real sharing, real production, and real exchange. But with the transformation of capitalism from productive or industrial trade capitalism, different whatever stages we call them, into a financialization or into a financialized capitalism, we have convinced people that you earn only by clicking on the computer. And that is why you have the highest income in our financialized economy. The highest income is given to those who play in the finance market, and especially also in the virtual market. So that is, in fact, is not the basic fundamental role of finance. The basic fundamental role of finance is to finance those people who are producing new wealth, who are producing added wealth, utilities or increments through exchange or through leasing, or those who are producing through creating new projects that produce goods and services. So with these things, with this innovation, can we think of Islamic finance as really a universal reform of finance? What is Islamic in it? Let's be frank, and let's be also fair with our colleagues who are not Muslim. Was the Prophet Muhammad the one who, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, peace be on him, was he the one who invented sale on credit or sale on deferred delivery? No. Was he the one who invented lease? No. Was he the one who invented sharing contract? No, definitely. So these contracts belong to all humanity, not to Islam alone. They belong to all humanity. All humanity practices them, but we went a little astray from them through the expansion of the money making, even if it were virtual. So what the Islamic reform of finance then calls on people to please wake up, go back to the real economy, go back to the real finance, and I really like to call it, it's a real economy finance. Probably it is Islamic finance. If it is because of the word you want to reject it, well, you will be the loser then. But it happened that we Muslims, and through Islamic ideas, that we introduced it in the contemporary world over the last 40 years or so. It so happened it carried the word being Islamic finance, and that should not be at all a reason for judging it on prejudice basis. So judge it, please, as a real economy finance, and I don't mind calling it, in fact, real economy finance, not Islamic finance.